So Thursday. Okay, we'll start the Thursday, April 14th meeting of the Tecumseh Police Services Board. I note that for roll call, that we don't have Inspector Miller, who has sent us his regrets. He's at a funeral, and also I understand that Sergeant Hornick is also not able to be here. With regard to the agenda for tonight's meeting, is there anyone who has any pecuniary interest? Declaration there too. Seeing none, we'll move on to item D, the approval of the supplementary agenda. I'm looking for a mover that the agenda for this meeting be accepted. Paul, seconded by Mark, in favor. Thank you, passed. Item E, approval of previous minutes. I note that at the regular meeting of February 10th, the Police Service Board meeting as duplicated and delivered to the members and be adopted. I'm looking for a mover. Mayor McNamara, seconded by Deputy Mayor McKetty. All in favor? Thank you, passed. Delegations. We would note that we were expecting to have a presentation this month from Crime Stoppers. They're not able to do that for us, so that Constable Sarah Werstein deferred, and we'll be setting that up for the next regular scheduled meeting on June the 9th. So we'll go on to item G, our monthly reports. Dave, I would ask if you would rack up this will be we're receiving monthly reports January through March. It is the March all-encompassing, perfectly done. And Jamie, I know you're there somewhere on the side screen. So if you could lead us through it, please, we would very much appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair Harold. Can you guys hear me all right?
You're a little tinny, like you're, you know.
Let's see if I can turn down the volume here. I received a new computer, so experiencing some difficulties here. Is that any better?
Marginally.
Turn this down a little more. How's that?
Better. Okay, if we're in military parlance, you're about 3 by 5.
Okay. Dave, if you're okay with going to page 3, it'll be the top calls for service.
There we go.
Okay, Chair Hales, Mr. Mayor, I'll go over the monthly report for March 2022. And for the calls for service for Tecumseh, some of the top calls for service, as you can see, are the property checks. And those would be proactive property checks at the area businesses where they've been targeted in the past for break and enters. And then traffic enforcement, we're at 46 there. Those are also proactive patrols by the officers.
Jamie, I'm going to just jump in and let you know that for my ear, and it's a 75-year-old ear, so it may not be well, but you're just absolutely broken up. So we have volume, but clarity is almost non-existent. Am I correct? Is anybody else hearing it that way?
Yeah, it's as if you're talking out in in a tin can.
Let me see if I can change the room here.
You may want to look at your voice thing and see if there's a selection for a different microphone. Maybe there's 2 microphones.
While you're doing that, I will thank Margaret for.
Is this any better?
Yes. No, that's keep talking.
Is it the same now, or is it any better?
Much better.
I think it's improved.
Much better.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So thanks, Dave, for that. I did see the section of the microphones there and dropped it down one. So I appreciate that. So I'll try and start this again. So our top calls for service, property checks at 61. And those are proactive patrols by the officers in regards to areas that have been hit in the past for break and enters and whatnot. And then the traffic enforcement at 46, again, those are proactive patrols for the officers. And I took a peek at some of the locations, and where officers have been doing those and without giving our areas out to the public or whatnot, just for an awareness piece. I don't think it'd be any surprise that County Road 46, 22, County Road 22, major places that we will go to. And then some of the side streets are Tecumseh Road, all along from Shawnee all the way to Brighton. We've had Lacoste, St. Thomas, Green Valley, Manning Road, and those are just a few of them that officers have been paying specific attention to. I don't think there's anything else under the calls for service that's jumping out at me there. If you can go to page 5, Dave. For total calls for service, you can see it dropped down from 2021, or down 5.1% for there. Next page, please.
Jamie, stay leaned into your computer. You're clearer when you've leaned in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's work on some. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So for violent crimes in March, you can see Tecumseh went up to 10. So I dug a little deeper there in regards to that. And all it takes is one call for service for us to get, charges out of that or violent calls for service. So in regards to those 10, we did have one sexual assault, and then we had 3 separate assaults. And out of those 2 out of 3, one was 4 charges, and the other one was 3 charges. So right there it was 7 charges just for the 2 separate assaults. For property crime, we're seeing a decrease. We seem to be staying steady in Tecumseh. And when I looked into them, I looked in, and some of them were gas drive-offs from the gas stations. And in addition, stolen iPhone and a shoplifting. Next page, please, page 7. Motor vehicle collisions, we've went up a little bit there. I looked into them as well a little bit deeper and noticed that there was some, a lot of them in Zare's parking lot, seems to be some of them. We did have 1 PI accident, personal injury accident, involving 3 vehicles, but that was in a parking lot as well as Tim Hortons. So I don't think the speeds were very high in that case, but somebody might have experienced some back pain or whatnot. MVC fatalities, we had the one you may recall on Manning Road near Baseline. And it was a gentleman walking down kind of the middle of the road. We had some previous reports of this person walking, he was homeless, very unfortunate, but walking in other areas throughout Essex County. And he happened to be walking more so in the middle of the street and was struck by a vehicle. Next page, please. The impaired, as you can see, in each municipality, we're still experiencing the impaireds coming in. Unfortunately, we've got our long Easter weekend initiative coming up. It'll start tonight at midnight and run until Monday at midnight as well. And our focus will be on seatbelts, but also any other infractions that may be out there: impaired driving, speeding, use of cell phones, distracted driving. We did see a bit of it's a decrease overall from last year, but we did see an increase in Tecumseh going up to 2. And then just below that with the drivers license suspensions, we had 5, which was an increase. And those would be in relation to the impaired driving and also racing charges that were issued by officers for going over 50 kilometers per hour. Next page, please, Dave. Criminal code charges, you can see there that we went up as well. Overall, throughout the county, we're up 14.7%. In Tecumseh, we're up to 22. We were at 14, and then 16 and 22, they've climbed. Drug offenses, Tecumseh is showing 2. And when I looked a little bit into that, we currently have an investigation going on within the town of Tecumseh with our street crimes unit. And then the other one is in relation to a suspected drug activity at a residence. So We have 2 of them going on right now. POA charges, as you can see, we've dropped there, and you know, it's showing a 23.8% decrease across Essex County.
Jamie, I think you're ahead of our screen. I think you need to rotate the screen up to the POAs. It's
Yeah,
and maybe we can you know, maybe enlarge it a little bit. I don't know if I'm having a hard time just actually seeing the numbers. Maybe Dave, if you could give it a you know, one shot. Can you magnify a little bit?
No, it doesn't want to let me expand it.
Okay, not to worry then.
Yeah.
Okay, so for the POA charges, we're down there in Tecumseh. Overall, 23.8% decrease across Essex County. Lakeshore seems to be maintaining, and they dropped in Kingsville. I don't have an explanation for that, other than, you know, reminding officers to be out there. And I can tell you from the proactive patrols that they were doing with the traffic enforcement, you know, they might have been sitting at locations where stop signs where there was an offensive taking place, and you know, the visibility might be there, but the tickets might not reflect the efforts that were out there. Traffic enforcement, and this is something I have to find out about, which I don't understand that the numbers don't match up. It's showing traffic stops, tickets, and warnings at 12 for Tecumseh. And you can see above in the POA stats, it's showing 39. So I don't know if that's a data issue. We did go over to e-ticketing, and I don't know if you're aware of the e-ticketing with the officers, but right from their car, they can get a computer-generated ticket, and they can just do it by a swipe of the driver's license, and then they can print up the ticket right within the vehicle. And on top of that, one of the things that they can collect is warnings. So if we pull over somebody and an officer decides to use their discretion and issue a warning, they can provide that warning, and that will be tracked on our system. So the next time that person gets pulled over, the officer will see that a warning was issued in the past, and if they're not getting the message, then the ticket would be issued the next time if they decide to go down that route. So it's a good tracking mechanism for us. That's right on our system. Before we would have to go into MTO and look at the history of the driver to find out what their tickets were, but that would only show the tickets, not the warning. So that's a great system that we have in place there.
But you're saying, Jamie, that you think there's a data acquisition problem right now with this month? That's why the numbers are so low?
The numbers aren't matching. I mean, the POA charges might be accurate up there, but I'm not understanding the traffic enforcement numbers and how they're gathering that data. And I couldn't get a hold of who pulls our reports today. It just doesn't match up for me to be able to say there's only 12 traffic enforcement or stops or tickets. I can't see everybody getting 3 or 4 tickets to make those numbers in the POA charges.
Okay.
So I'll have to find out about that. The mental health response calls, maintaining there for the most part. We're showing an increase overall in Essex County with 16%. We still have those teams out there, and we've got the weekend coverage now with our teams, with a part-time social worker that is riding with different officers throughout the county, responding to those calls for service. 911 hang-ups, we keep seeing decreases there, and we're staying relatively low at 11 compared to 27 from the previous month. Could you go to the next page, please? And I'll just go into the rides, 3 in Tecumseh, and I'm hoping that we start increasing the ride programs. We have been noticing a lot of impaired drivers out there. I'm sure you've read about some of the things that have been happening out in Leamington in regards to impaired drivers and the fatalities that we've experienced out there due to alcohol. Foot patrol hours, 96. And then would mind go to the next page? there wasn't a notable investigation for Tecumseh listed on here, but I can just share with you. You might have read in on social media, but we've been experiencing tractor trailer theft now, whether it be the tractor or the trailer or both. And what's happening is they're going down into the Walker Road area, County Road 46. They've even been in Lakeshore area, and they're getting these units, and a lot of times they're fully loaded, and they're defeating the GPS. They're finding where they are. They're getting rid of the GPS and tossing them somewhere. And we've been having these units turn up all over Ontario. We do have persons of interest at this time, and we've been working on that. But our street crimes unit has been working actively on these people and trying to target the areas, trying to figure out where they may go next.
But the scope of that would seem to be that it's organized crime. It's not just guys.
Right. You almost think it's, I don't want to say an inside job, but it's somebody that must know the industry very well, knows what vehicles are loaded, knows where to find the GPS devices that are on the vehicles, because they're defeating them very quickly. So there's no other notable occurrences that I have to speak to in regards to that. And I'm open to any questions, comments, concerns.
I'll open that up. We can take, I think we can take the sheets off the screen, and then we'll open it up to everybody. Are there any questions with regard to this report? Your worship.
Yeah, just Jamie, I noticed you talked about the the POAs, but then the other number was quite low in that. But even on that, POA seemed to have, in my opinion, quite a drop in that regards. And then we've seen kind of a pretty substantive increase in the property and violent crimes in particular. And I know of concern for us too that home invasion in Sandwich South Hamlet, or the Hamlet, and that was obviously for us one too many, or it's one too many anywhere. But there in particular, it's a very family oriented, nice area, and so forth. So we've seen an uptick of that. What is what are we doing to sort of calm the waters, like in the community itself? And it's not only here, but I've noticed it too. It's in Lakeshore. It's it's across county wise. What are we doing to kind of calm this down a little bit? And I guess the follow up to that would be, was it in that home invasion, was it a random or was it targeted?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I know you're absolutely right when you say that. It's not random. It's targeted. A lot of these home invasions, they're not just going to your house or my house and taking a chance on knocking on the door or breaching the door with weapons. They're there to look for something specific, whether it be drugs, money, or whatnot. I'm not saying that everyone's tied to criminal activity, but a lot of times these are targeted. These just aren't a random thing, like the shooting, in Windsor that occurred there last weekend. That might have been random as a result of a fight, but unfortunately, people are carrying weapons, and things got heated there. But going back to some of the home invasions, they're very hard to, prevent in some cases, because sometimes they'll happen right in the middle of the day. They'll happen at night. We don't know where they're going to happen, and we wait for somebody to call, unfortunately, for some of these. And again, a lot of them are as a result of some criminal activity that everybody's involved in.
Are there any other questions? Mark, please.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Jamie. I apologize, I couldn't hear really well. When you went through the false alarms, we took quite a substantial increase there to 57, 40.6 increase. Can you explain to me what it was? If I did miss what you said, I apologize, but if you could just repeat that.
Yeah, Mark, I didn't look into the alarms too much to pull them up, but I know generally it's usually in the industrial area that we're having a lot of alarms, and I noticed across Essex County we're at a 40% increase, and Tecumseh seems to be leading the pack there with them, and it does seem that it is in the industrial area a lot of times with people opening up the businesses. A lot of times, if they don't have the passcode or whatnot, could be wind events. Sometimes I don't know what the weather's been like, you know, to say that. I know today with it being windy, that can be the case sometimes, but I'd have to look a little bit deeper for you at each alarm to figure out what the issue was during those times.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
So then supplement to that, then you will look into that and report back next time as to what the nature. I'm sure it's just doors. It's just people not doing security property on their doors.
I think maybe what we should do, Mr. Chair, on that too, is on our part, maybe a bit of an education, communications, maybe through our social media, or maybe Marg, through our new customer service person, you know, send out a release out there for, you know, folks to pay attention, because it's, you know, again, it's a service call, and you can't ignore it. You need to, you know, to investigate it. But yeah, we've seen some creep over the last little while, and maybe a gentle reminder to the, you know, to the folks.
Are there any other questions? Then I have one. I don't know, Jamie, if you're allowed to, or it's your part of your surveillance to be able to talk about, are there any citizen complaints against members of the Tecumseh detachment that are unresolved?
Not that I'm aware of right now, no.
Okay, all right, because that used to be part of the other report, but this report doesn't contain it anymore. And I went into the other report, and it's mixed in, there's things mixed in with the with your high school resource officer. There's suspensions and charges, and I'm not sure what the suspension refers to. There are 5 suspensions on the book. Is that suspensions from school, or is that suspensions from our force?
No, I think it'd be from the schools, if anything. I know we did have an incident on one of the schools there with an assault. Some of our officers were assaulted by a youth at the school, and they went to deal with them. So it might be suspension from school. I will look into those alarms.
Yeah, it just, I think it's important as part of the Police Service Act that we be kept informed if there are any citizen complaints that are unresolved. And I think we are also entitled to know what the nature of the resolution of the citizen complaint was too. That seems to have dropped through between the cracks in the last half a year or so. So perhaps, and I think that's an important thing to make sure that those things are being handled in an expeditious manner. So I think it'd be good to report on it. Yeah. Thank you. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, then I would ask to have a motion that the regular minutes, I'm sorry, that the reports be received. I'm looking for a mover. Thank you, Mr. Your Worship. And Paul, thank you. All in favor? And thank you, that's carried. We can move on from OPP reports to our general reports. And then I have noticed that my report of the Ontario Association of Police Service Board Zone 6 meeting has been received, and there's not much to say on that. I think it's general business of our association. So I would like to have a motion that that report be received. I'm looking for a mover. Thank you, Joe. Seconded by Paul. All in favor? Passed. Thank you so much. Communications action required under item I in our agenda. There are none. Communications for information purposes only. We have the letter to the Public Appointments Secretariat, and we have some action on that, which is very good. So we have some temporary extensions thank God. You know, so Mark and Paul, the extension is there, and until all police service boards under OPP contract are shuffled. However, the ministry is eventually going to do it. And based on what we've heard, I would suspect that's not going to happen very quickly at all. So we shall see what we shall see. So we have those, we have the letters back from both Paul and from Mark from the Solicitor General, and that's happily to receive it. And then our administrator of the Solicitor General, all chiefs bulletin enforcement of COVID measures. So that is standard information that gets put out. So I'm looking at the communications for information on items 1 through 4 is listed above, be received. And I'm looking for a mover. Thank you, Your Worship. Seconded by Mark again. And all in favor? Passed. Thank you. Old business, community safety and policing grant. This item was deferred, but we have received. Margaret, did you want to speak to that?
No, Your Worship, I would prefer to speak to number 2. I think I was looking for an update from the OPP on the policing grant.
Okay, yes. Well, that has been received. I don't know, Jamie, if you're in a position to speak to that. That was, I don't think you headed up that task force, but can you speak to the grant? It has been successful now, and there are monies allotted in there that we would like to know about. So I don't know if you can speak to that or not.
Yeah, I believe over the 3-year period from 2022 to 2025, I believe it's 1.3 million, somewhere kind of same as the previous grant. And I know messaging went out to all the police services boards to have everything signed off. And I think we're just waiting for some insurance waivers to be signed off. And I think also there's some checks coming back to some of the municipalities there in regards to officer wages. I'm not sure if that's been received yet, but yes, it has been extended to continue with that program with our youth crisis response team, our mobile crisis rapid response team. So that's good news that is still continuing, because it still is a concern in everyone's community.
Margaret, yes, please respond to that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Jamie. What I can tell you is that we only just recently received the paperwork from the ministry that indicated that the grant had been approved, and that was forwarded or responded to our treasurer to indicate that Kingsville is once again going to do the accounting and reporting on the grant. So there has been no flow of funds or any of the reporting done yet. It's really kind of early stages of the grant, initiation and carryover of the program.
Yeah, I think we owe them some signed documentation. That's all. Right? Oh, that's the warning of an in-camera meeting. Sorry about that. Okay, yeah. So I think, yeah, as I was saying, I think we have some paperwork to sign and turn back from our part of it. That's all. Okay. Any other questions with regard to that grant process? None. Okay, then we'll move on to item L, new business. And actually, yes, please, Margaret. Please.
I can speak to number 2, the automated speed enforcement under old business.
Please do. That was a spin-off of grant monies, I think, and we were going to study that, or have you moved that forward through administration?
I just wanted to give the members an update on what we have found out so far. If with your permission, I'll just do that verbally.
Please do. Please do.
So we have looked into the LAS program for automated speed enforcement. And I think they're out of the gates maybe a little bit slower than they initially anticipated. They are in the process of trying to line up one pilot project with a municipality. This is all at this moment carefully linked with provincial offenses officers who must process the tickets. The LAS cannot employ provincial offenses officers, so they're still trying to work around that business with the pilot municipality. It is their goal to support a limited number of additional municipalities in the program, but further on this year in the fall. They did indicate that when they are kind of ready to get going, the town could opt for a 6-month, 1-year, or 2-year contract, and with 1 camera and 2 data handling and ticket processing included. The cost estimate at this time, and I think that it still is a work in progress as well, would range from $142 a day for a 6-month term to down to $97 a day for a 24-month term, with $117 a day for a 12-month term, plus $20 processing fee per ticket issued. So it's pricey, and unfortunately, the way that it would be set up now is that any revenue that would be garnered from tickets issued under an automated speed enforcement mechanism would go through the POA court system, which is horrendously backed up now as a result of COVID. We're talking to LAS about the possibility of using automated municipal payment systems, which is a new program, relatively new program that's available to municipalities for different collection of fines for different municipal purposes. So that is still in deliberation. There still has to be a bit of a link to the POA, and they're quite aware of the AMPS program, but have not yet worked out the wrinkles with how that might unfold. And for us, we at the town, we still need to determine whether an AMP process is viable for the town and what we might use it for, and how that might be administered as well. So that's something that we have to do on our end as well. So the discussion continues. We remain the only municipality in our area that has expressed an interest in the automated speed enforcement at this time. They're in the process of finalizing an FAQ document, which they're willing to share with us once they have that developed, and I can share that with the board when that is ready. They say they're 95% there, so it shouldn't take too much longer for them to finalize that. So,
I just one question. I'm not even sure, Margaret, that you would know the answer to this, but I suspect if Tecumseh does opt for bringing this system in, we would probably be required at all our boundaries to put some kind of a notice up that we have this automated speed enforcement in place in Tecumseh.
Yes, Mr. Chair, that is a requirement of the program, is that there has to be notification so that people are aware that there is such a mechanism in the location where it's placed, and it can only be in school zones or community safety zones.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Mm-hmm. But the town has the ability to designate community safety zones?
Oh, yes. Yes, the town has that ability.
Okay. All right. Are there any other questions for Margaret? Seeing none, we'll move on. Margaret, thank you very much. I think that's been long talked about, traffic and speed enforcement, and I'm glad to see that Tecumseh is still interested. And even if other people fall by the wayside, I think it's a good use of the resources that we may get out of the grant program. So let's live in hope. Okay.
Well, we would be interested more in sharing with a neighbor or neighbors because that would assist in covering spreading out the administration costs associated with the ticket processing part of it. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Are there any other new business? I don't believe so. So then, seeing none, I would say,
Mr. Chair.
Please, Your Worship.
Deputy Member Ketty had his hand up.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Can you hear me good?
Perfect.
Awesome. Okay. Just a question regarding the community police officers. I know the schools there was a pause due to COVID. I understand talking to other school principals, in particular Leamington area, that there is a VIP or community officer one designated throughout the OPP area for the county, and it's stationed or predominantly in that Leamington area. Jamie, would you know anything about that? The reason I ask is there are situations in all schools, and in one in particular I had, where a mother wanted me to have the community police officer speak to their child about, you know, the law and what not to come in. And in the past, we had access to the VIP officer, and they would be able to come in, and it really connected with the kids. They knew the kids and whatnot. But obviously, you know, we don't have that now. But I understand there's some in Leamington area. So do you know anything about that? If there is, I just like to know if there is a name attached that other school principals can tap into if and when that need arises.
Yeah, Deputy Mayor, I can answer that question. So as you're all aware, when COVID hit, all our community service officers were put back to the road, and we weren't allowed in the schools there for a time period. So lots of questions have been asked about the community service officers, and a lot of it's been, you know, the ask had to come from the school for us to go back into the schools. We couldn't inject ourselves there, but we did identify an officer because there was a lot of community things going on. So we identified one officer, not specifically to go into schools, but to deal with anything community related. You guys have the 100th anniversary coming up, and I assigned that officer to that along with the media person. It's Catherine Burt is her name. So she's not specific to Leamington. She's specific right now to the county just to deal with some of the community events that are coming up. And we've tasked her with multiple things. I'm not sure what it looks like. I know our program is being reviewed for community policing because of some of the events that have taken place in Toronto and some of the school boards there. And you may know better than me, Deputy Mayor, that they don't want community police officers in those schools for some of them. So the OPP's been looking at it through a different lens and reviewing the whole programming of community service officers right now and determining where we're going to go next with them. And it may not be specific to Essex County, but I don't know if they want to take an approach across the whole organization. So we've been kind of waiting for the messaging to come out from the school boards, from the superintendent requesting us back into the schools. So there is that one officer that is around that is being tasked with various events. And I know as COVID is, I mean, we're in our 6th wave. I know the hospitals are starting to get bad again. She's being tasked with a lot of things because there's a lot of events opening up right now. So I'm not sure what that looks like with assigning our community safety officers to the schools once again. I know school year is almost over. We'll probably be looking more towards September, but I can provide that name to you and the contact information if you want to reach out for various things, and we'll do our best. I know our officers are going to the schools dealing with a lot of issues. In particular, I know Vista as of late, they were dealing with some issues there. So all officers are dealing with that, but we don't have anyone specific but her that has been kind of designated the community service officer for Essex County right now.
All right, excellent. Thank you. I know it's their rebrand. I know the school boards have talked about a pause with the program itself, and I understand that with all the resources that are available. But if there is that one person where, say, a school, the principal may just be able to just run something by them and then get back to the parent, just instead of us calling that 1-800 number and talking to someone, a dispatch, some of that kind of does us on day-to-day, would be very helpful. So again, obviously we have to wait for the direction of the school boards, where they want to go with that. But if there is that individual, whatever, I think it's a valuable asset to the not only the school boards, but to the community policing aspect of it. So thank you for that information, Jamie.
You're welcome.
Joe, thank you. And I will tell you that Inspector Miller addressed this at length with Paul Sweet and I as part of his review. And I think I can go over those comments later on when we meet in camera. All right. So that's, I think, that is the end of new business. We note that under item M, our next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, June the 9th at 4:30. And having no other business, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. Mark, seconded by Paul, all in favor? Okay. Now, Margaret, as far as the procedure for us continuing, I'm not